Meet Frankie Luvu. This is a guy who is the exact definition of what we talk about when we say the word underrated. I want to read off his draft analysis prior to getting to the NFL to give you the context of just what people thought about Frankie Luvu. Luvu plays a stand-up edge defender role at Washington State, but may lack the size and length teams are willing to take on considering pedestrian athletic traits. Luvu doesn't play with much hesitation, so his football speed may be a little better than how he tested at his pro day. If you need someone to annihilate the mesh point of a zone read play, Luvu is definitely your guy. He is unlikely to get drafted, but his toughness and consistency give him an outside shot at making it. Well, it's fair to say that outside shot has been cashed. Frankie Luvu had 3 pretty average seasons prior to this breakout season with the Carolina Panthers. In this season, he had 111 tackles, 76 solo, 19 tackles for loss, ranking 4th in the NFL, 9 quarterback hits, and he also had 7 sacks and 4 pass deflections. He does it all at that linebacker position, and he also had an interception, took it back for 33 yards. So I want to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because this is how I found him. It was just a random Sunday, and this was a game that had playoff implications, so I tuned in. And it was clear to me very quickly that this was the guy on that defense that's going to say no. When we're getting the ball ran on us, when teams are just moving the ball at will against us, I'm going to be the one to say no. Let's start off with the first play right here. And we're going to see a couple different positions from Frankie Luvu throughout this video. But on this play specifically, he's lined up in that middle linebacker position in this nickel formation. And contrary to the entire season for Tampa Bay, I actually like one of these calls by Byron Leftwich. He calls a screen because those pass rushers are coming. And based on the look that we're getting from Carolina, by all accounts, this should be a successful play. But again, Frankie Luvu says no. This is a guy who plays at 1,000 miles per hour, PFF's 16th ranked linebacker after having a career as a backup. He came on this season, and you can see why. And like I say, if you're really a linebacker and you want to be one of the upper echelon guys, you got to turn the ball over or affect the quarterback somehow. And right here, this is one of Frankie Luvu's specialties. He can blitz the quarterback. He can blitz against the run. Right here, it's against the run, and nobody picks him up in the gap. He just slips through, tackle for loss. Like I said, he had 19 of them. So you can count and count and count as we get through this video because you're going to keep seeing them. And let me tell you another thing about Frankie Luvu. I think when he gets power encounter ran against him, he takes that as a level and a sign of a very high disrespect. Because right here, he blitzes and he times it up perfectly just about every time. So now we're getting there before you get to the spot. I'm an ankle bite, still a tackle for loss. What can you do to stop it? Now, don't be pigeonholed to the thought process that Frankie Luvu can only offer success as a blitz and run stopper. He does more than just that. He looks comfortable in zone coverage. He looks comfortable in man coverage against running backs time to time. But right here, he's covering the tight end. And this is the goal line. This isn't any average play. This is 7 or nothing. And like I said, Frankie Luvu says no. He has the tight end on this play, but he's covering him. He looks very comfortable in this play. Doesn't look out of position, doesn't look out of place. And also, he's attacking that inside shoulder when he breaks on the ball. That's a no-go. And I think sometimes when you watching film on certain players, you can tell us a bit of a background story by the way they play football. Frankie Luvu has a pursuit that's not really matched by many, especially in the NFL. Sometimes we see guys on the weak side lollygagging, but no, we're chasing down this run on the other sideline all the way from where we're at. And we gonna make that play another tackle for loss. And as I aforementioned, he also got 7 sacks. Right here, this is one of his sacks. And Atlanta Falcons fans, you might want to, viewer discretion is advised for this one because you just paid a guy north of $100 million, but nobody picks him up on this play. This is Chris Lindstrom in your center. Nobody picks up Frankie Luvu. Marcus Mariota's going down. Another great sack, another great play. And going back to some of that versatility I talked about, when he see those pulling guards, that's disrespect to Frankie Luvu. Right here, when you see those pulling guards as a linebacker, sometimes, depending on the keys and depending on the play call for the defense, you got to get downhill. Right here, that's his job. Meets them and still makes this tackle. So that's showing me what we can do with Frankie Luvu. Like I said, sometimes we can line him up on the ball. Probably going to play a huge role at the middle linebacker this season, but he can really do it all. He's a smart football player. His pursuit is off the charts. I think this is one of the most underrated linebackers in the game of football, but not no more. And another thing I want to point out is that when we talk about the draft process, because we can take it to this year, talk about some of the guys coming out in the draft, you talk about measurables and all these things, but if a guy's a good football player, he's going to be a good football player. Sometimes it doesn't work out at the next level, but sometimes a lot of those guys that are slept on in the draft because of their measurables, because of a pro day and a draft combine, they're going to show you everything that they showed you on tape when they get to the NFL, and all they need is a shot. Some of these coaches in the NFL, you know, they're so big-headed that we want to take a guy who can run a 4.4, run a 4.5 over the guy who's going to make tackle after tackle after tackle just because of those traits. Frankie Luvu's not the tallest. He's not the biggest. He's definitely not the fastest, but he's one of the best upcoming linebackers. And next year, I think we're ready for a breakout season.